Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WREVA Electrifying News, February 2022 edition. With me, I'm Mark, of course, from WREVA, and also with me today is Mr. Eric Stevens from Listowel. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Mark. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you very much. Enjoying the weather very much so today.
Today,
plus 5.
yes, absolutely. Today is a pleasant change from what we had last week.
Exactly. So definitely looking forward to signs of spring. I know it's early, but I'm an optimist, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
You may notice that we're missing one member of the team that's typically with us. Mr. Ian Graham is not with us this evening because he's found a better place to be. He's vacationing in Mexico tonight. So, Ian, I hope you're enjoying your time there and have a margarita on me. Certainly, you're getting better weather than what we got here today, every day there, I'm sure. With that, we've got some news for you from around locally, the province of Ontario, Canada, and maybe one out of Canada. But we try to keep the news local, the electrifying news, to local as we can get it for the news cycle. So I think we'll start with Eric. He's got a story tonight. I'm going to share the screen here. Just a moment. Start sharing. And Eric, just let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, we're good.
Go right ahead, Eric.
Yeah, so basically, we've been talking about this, I guess, the last couple of shows, about the IV stations that have been going in at the en route stations at many service centers across Ontario. As it turns out now, a number of them have gone live now as the middle of February, and a whole bunch of them, in fact, the vast majority of them should be live by the time spring rolls around and by the end of March. So a large number of them are already installed and they're ready to go live over the next few weeks, with a few other outliers over the next rest of this year and even into the next couple of years. Even talking to the Teva, basically, Paul there has noticed that even some stations like the King City one that's to be determined for go live date, their construction is ongoing at those sites as well too. So
I think we've got a slide here showing the dates.
Yes. So yeah, a number of the stations are already live, and quite a few of them you see by the end of March are supposed to be live. And a few more are to be determined, and there's supposed to be even more locations even beyond this, but they will go in over the next year or two beyond that as well too. So it's a good sign that these were announced late last year, basically, that they're going in. Basic construction had already started, and they'd already been pretty far along, and now they're going live very quickly in fairly short order. So that'll be a very pleasant change. This helps plug quite a few charging gaps, I think, in Ontario. Especially, I'm looking forward to the Cambridge stations and the West Lorne and Dutton ones also help plug that charging gap between London and Chatham, which is a bit of a charging desert down that way.
Yeah. And actually, we got a report from Ken at the EV Revolution show. He was out at one of the Cambridge stations, not sure if it was north or southbound, but he was there today, which of course was the 21st. And that particular one was not up and running yet, although the sign said it was imminent. So it's something that they are working on. Certainly, if you're going to rely on one of these stations, I'd certainly look it up in PlugShare or get confirmation if you're relying on it, because as this chart shows, February 18th, which was late last week, Cambridge should have been live, and one of them is not at this point.
Yeah, I suspect possibly weather-related delays or some other thing may have come up that have maybe pushed that date a little bit. But
another interesting note is I got an update from someone who was at the Innisfil, which is just south of Barrie, which is currently a TBD, BD, to be determined. They indicated that the hardware is actually installed there. They sent me a photo. So even the TBDs are under construction. The work's being done. It's just that they don't have a solid end date, I guess.
Yeah, so they're coming along quite quickly, and hopefully be all live quite shortly.
What's also interesting is at some of the sites they are installing. You can see in this photo there's CHAdeMO and a CCS available, but there also is an adapter at one of the units. Typically, at a site, we'll have a Tesla adapter plugged in permanently to the CHAdeMO. So we've seen that some photos of that as well. So it's letting anybody with a fast charging ability car plug in at these Ivy sites.
Yeah, they're working hard to try to service everybody and give options for all vehicles.
Yeah. So this is going to be a plus. Certainly with the on route being extremely easy on and off the highway because they're part of the highway system. It's going to allow people for faster charging and quicker a quick charge and back on the road again.
Yeah, and the en routes just make sense. I mean, they have a number of amenities and washroom facilities that are 24-hour available. It's just a great place to stop and have a quick break while your vehicle is charging.
Right. Next story, going to lead a little bit into some charging notes again. This photo here is a Flow charger that's on street in Toronto. So Flow has teamed up with the City of Toronto and has produced some units that are now installed in basically residential areas to allow people to charge their vehicles at night. Obviously, you're not going to get a charger in front of every house, but they're trying to put them in different neighborhoods and have them available to the EV public that they could shuffle cars around, charge up, leave, get another car in there. The City of Toronto's been trying to push this through. Really, the program has not. It's not been successful in the eyes of how many units they've put in place. This also could be because of COVID and restrictions that have been in place. But there was a meeting at the City of Toronto where it indicated that, yes, they're committed to this. They want to continue with the install of these chargers in different areas, and they're committed to increasing the number of chargers that they have available. So at this point, the number's kind of low, but they are indicating that the program is not dead. They are pushing forward. It's just that they have been strapped with other things that are going on in the city, and of course the restrictions that we've all been seeing over the past 2 years.
Yeah, this is.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was just going to say this is a good program. A lot of people in, especially in dense urban areas like Toronto, where parking is a premium, even for residents that live there. A lot of communities take advantage or take for granted the fact that they can have a house where they can plug their car into park their car in a driveway and plug into it. In a city like Toronto, sometimes where you have very dense urban environments, a lot of houses don't even have a driveway in some cases, and on-street parking is sometimes the only options available to some of these people. And EV charging under those circumstances becomes much more difficult. So programs like this are very welcome, and hopefully will make dense urban charging a lot more accessible for people who live in places like Toronto.
And my hat goes off to EV owners in dense urban areas that are in this situation. I know it would give me pause, even being an EV owner have been since 2014. it would still give me pause if I did not have reliable access to my own driveway or garage or both. Um, so, and I know, Eric, you have your own place to charge as well.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that statement that it would give you pause as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you'd have to look at the usage case and sit there and think and wonder, obviously you have to take into consideration, how am I going to keep this vehicle charged? And you're almost reliant upon public charging at that point. So whether it's a level, these type of level 2 chargers overnight, or a DC fast charging network where you go to possibly once a week or something like that, you have to take that into consideration. Of course, public charging like this is also quite a bit more expensive, which you have to take that into consideration when budgeting for your vehicle.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bigger hill to climb for those that don't have that availability to their own private spot, for sure. And one thing I would also say is, if you have not seen on-street charging, it is available in our region. You can even check out a couple of flow stations that are on-street parking in downtown Waterloo, or very close to downtown Waterloo, close to the Waterloo Park. Where the skateboard park is in Waterloo. They have a double head flow unit in there for parking, so you can charge there. And a little bit further down the road towards the Seagram Lofts, they have a flow charger embedded in a parking spot there as well. So if you're curious as to what and how on-street parking looks like, you can check it out in our local region. Very good. All right, Eric, you got this next one.
Yeah, so this one is an interesting one. So basically, General Motors a little while ago announced that they're going to be working with a company called POSCO, which is a South Korean company, to build cathode material. And basically what they're looking for is, today, most cathode material today is not made in North America. It has to be imported, even for battery makers that are here in North America. They have to import this material. And what I found interesting here is that Canada is a leading candidate for this facility to make this cathode material. And that's because making cathode material is very energy intensive. It takes a lot of energy to make cathodes. And so even though there's a number of US sites that are also potential candidates for this, the fact that Canada has access to cost-effective, clean, reliable electricity here makes it a very leading candidate. And I found it interesting that even GM Canada's media site has been talking about this. And typically, the Canadian media site only talks about stuff that's really relevant to Canada as well, too. So it looks like Canada is a strong contender to have this cathode material here. One other thing I'd point out, too, is, there's recent incentives in the United States trying to encourage sort of a made in USA policy for electric vehicles and batteries. However, many of the parts and components, even batteries, are comprised of many parts and many components. And those parts and components, Canada can still play a very large role in manufacturing those and still get around many of those US rules about battery manufacturing. So this could be still a very strong way where Canada can play a leading role in electrification of the automobile, even with some of the potential US trade rules that are coming out.
Yeah, so that's interesting that it's because of Canada's ability to have renewable electricity. That's what they're interested in, because this is, as you mentioned, energy intensive for the production of this element for batteries.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, energy intensive, and of course, in places like obviously Quebec is a leading candidate for this potentially too, because it's clean and it's affordable as well too. So the cost of manufacturing the cathode material in a place like Quebec might outweigh even other incentives that some other jurisdictions or regions might put up to try to win this business.
right, and yeah, that's good and Quebec has been pushing, and certainly it would be a plus for Quebec to get this to because of course they have this renewable hydroelectric resource that they're looking for ways to market it and for businesses to benefit from it, and growth of jobs and the sector in Canada as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Very good. Next, speaking of batteries, let's go on to the whole the whole package, which the batteries go in. Montreal apparently has signed up for their first all EV police car to be put into service in the city. They believe sometime in Q2 of 2022. They have selected the Ford Mach E, the 500 kilometer range battery configuration. And they have, of course, they're looking to get it outfitted with the proper police paraphernalia, equipment. Not sure if it's going to be exactly like these photos we're seeing, but whether or not it's going to have a push bar, I'm not exactly sure. But certainly the light kits, which could be a roof rack as shown in this particular image, or they could be more of the undercover vehicles where they put them at the top of the windshield and sides of the vehicle as well. So there's a number of different outfitters that handle that. Even we're familiar with one in locally, Cyril Wheeler, somebody that has some experience with outfitting police cars, making EVs police cars. So Montreal is going to do that. And then the other story that was kind of the sister story to this week, which was, well, that's not it. Can't bring up that photo. But Bridgewater, Nova Scotia has also signed up for an EV. They signed up for the Tesla Model 3. And they have decided that will be their first all EV patrol car. And if I'm not mistaken, when that Tesla goes into service, I think that'll be the first Tesla EV in Canada that is a patrol car. So a couple of firsts going on in Canada. So we're glad to see that. We'd certainly like to see other police departments come on board with a few EVs to bolster their fleets. We all know about the tremendous savings that can be had from a police car because they're typically idling a lot of their time. They're not in street chases the majority of time. The majority of time, you can see officers out there working on their computers or on the radio. The vehicles are running all the time, and having a vehicle that just has to burn electricity as opposed to fuel is going to be a big savings in the pocketbook of those fleet managers, as well as going to be comfortable for the officers to keep the heat on in the winter months, and it's a plus all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Yeah, as you pointed out, there's a huge number of advantages for police departments to go to electrification, of course, like most other fleet owners as well too. It's interesting here that they've gone with the Mustang Mach-E. This is one of the first EVs to pass the Michigan State Police Program certification, which is actually a very important certification for police vehicles. A number of police departments around North America actually require vehicles to meet that certification. So Ford has good experience with that, of course, because they offer a number of other police vehicles today. One thing that's interesting, though, today is Ford doesn't offer a dedicated police package yet for a vehicle like the Mustang Mach-E or even the F-150 Lightning. Hopefully in the future they will come out with such a package, because right now aftermarket outfitters are having to do that for this vehicle. But hopefully Ford and other major manufacturers come out with dedicated police packages, which also play into fleet and police service.
Exactly. Yeah. So hats off to Montreal and in Quebec and Bridgewater in Nova Scotia. Also, just so you're aware, the viewer, all of these stories have links in the description. So you can click on those links and go in and read the details of the articles that have been attached to these stories at any time. Also, if you could, please feel free to give us a thumbs up on the YouTube video, as well as press that subscribe button if you would like to be notified every time we upload a new video to the WREVA YouTube channel. That would be appreciated. Both the thumbs up and the subscribe help us with the YouTube algorithm and gets us in front of new eyes, presents us as stories for others who may not be aware of us at all, and those certainly help us out, getting us these news stories spread out a little bit further. Next, Eric's got this story, and no, it's not about sunrises. What is this about, Eric?
Well, it could be about sunrises, I guess. Making power, I guess. But basically, the Ontario Energy Minister Todd Smith, he's gone to the OEB and he's asking them now to investigate, and they're pushing for an ultra low overnight electricity pricing structure. Now, this is something I personally wrote the EEB 4 or 5 years ago about, and I personally wrote a long letter with the benefits and all that stuff to the Ontario Energy Board, and actually got a good response saying that they would certainly be interested, and they're actually looking into it as well too. So that they've definitely had some research and some background on this, but there's a huge number of benefits to this. Obviously, it makes EV charging for people much cheaper. It gives them an opportunity to charge their cars in the middle of the night. Most cars today have the ability to program themselves to charge at off-hour times. If not, there's electric vehicle charging systems out there too that can also have timers built into them that can do that as well. So that can certainly help take advantage of that, and EV owners could certainly benefit from that. But on top of that, this also adds a lot of stability to our electrical grid. Ontario generates a huge amount of base load power that is typically, we have usually excess of it that we're often selling at a loss at night. Sometimes even paying people to take power at night today as it is. So we're sometimes paying like New York State or Michigan State to take our power at night because we generate so much excess power at night. So this is just, in my eyes, it just makes so much sense to do this. And especially now with new future EVs coming up, like the Ford F-150 Lightning, which has vehicle to grid capabilities, this could possibly even open up possibilities where these vehicles charge, they use this excess capacity at night, and then during the day, they could be used to help smooth out the grid as well too. So this has a possibility of really stabilizing our grid and improving the efficiency of our electrical grid in quite a few different ways. It's another step in the right direction.
Exactly. That balancing of the grid, electricity, if you're unaware of it, it doesn't, in a lot of cases, it doesn't have the ability to just shut off. If Ontario is producing so much electricity to keep businesses and homes running during the day, when we run into the nighttime periods, they do have the capability of starting to shut down some of those sources, but some of the other sources, possibly like nuclear, do not have the ability to ramp down as other sources might, like hydroelectric dams. But and in that case, they really have to move that electricity regardless, which results in the situation that Eric mentioned, is that sometimes we're giving that electricity away or even paying others to take it off our hands because it is being generated and it has to move down the lines regardless. So it's a situation that could be eliminated as EVs start to come online in mass, that we can store that extra energy into Ontario citizens' EVs overnight. And as Eric mentioned, can even possibly use that in the future as a stationary battery, actually a mobile battery, that could bolster businesses and homes during the day if that electricity is not just used for transportation.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as you pointed out, you can't take sites like Bruce Nuclear and put them on a giant dimmer switch. It wouldn't be very feasible. That'd be a rather large dimmer switch that would needed for something like that. It would generate quite a bit of heat. Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll have to see. I know that there was the argument out there in the early days of EVs, people saying, well, if everyone switched to EVs, we wouldn't have the power. We'd have to put up new power transmission lines. We'd have to have new sources of power. No, that isn't the case. We generate a ton more electricity at night than we can use. So having somewhere to put that energy and store it in Ontario's back pocket would be a plus to the citizens and to the utilities because they're now not having to, lose money by pushing that power to other states or provinces. It can just be used by the citizens of this province who actually pay the bills for the generation in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And it may reduce the need for peaker plants as well too, where during the day where we have to put on extra short-term capacity, which is very expensive to utilize and often not as clean, in order to offset our power generation during the day as well too. So
yeah, imagine a fleet of 100,000 vehicles in Ontario that are plugged in and could be basically a virtual power plant where they could take energy from those 100,000 vehicles and help shave the curve of the power requirements on that particular time of day or night. Not all typically your vehicle sits 95% of the time. Having the person who owns that vehicle participate in some sort of a cost savings by sharing the power that's in that vehicle will be a plus to everyone involved.
Yep, absolutely.
Very good. On to our next story. This, of course, is a concept of the Project Arrow that has been talked about for quite some time. This is the brainchild of the Canadian Vehicle Parts Association. This group is trying to put together a coalition of interested parties that will build different parts to make a all-Canadian EV, in this case SUV, available to the world markets. The group is trying to put together this coalition of interested parties in order to, of course, use Canadian design talent, manufacturing, parts, third-party suppliers, Canadian jobs. All this is tied into a completely Canadian EV that they want to bring to market sometime. We're looking at 2023, 2024. This particular piece of art was brought forward to start showing interested groups about what this vehicle is about, what they could do. This obviously is not the final market piece, but it is the beginning of the push to find different parts manufacturers that would be interested in participating in Project Arrow. Certainly, if this is successful, it can blow out from here from just a single vehicle to multi-vehicles, but they're just trying to start at base one, where they're saying, okay, here's the thought. SUVs are extremely popular here in North America. We believe that's probably the market to hit. The specs are pretty loose at this point, but they've kicked around pricing somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000. The battery range they're looking for 300 miles or 500 kilometers as a base, but really there's not a lot of solid specs available on this. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get all the support they need in time, because as we've seen lately, the EV market is starting to accelerate with all different manufacturers of vehicles. And I'm not sure if you have to wait until 2024 or 2023 to get into a production of a vehicle like this. Not to mention, the setup of, the purchasing dealerships, whether or not a separate entity is created and they sell them direct to the public, or if there's dealerships involved. There's a lot of things to cross off their list in order to get a vehicle to the marketplace so Canadians can purchase it. But I am hopeful with the skill that we have here in Canada that different manufacturers can get together and see if this project is viable. I would certainly love to see an all-Canadian EV that's available to Canadians and other North Americans for purchase. Just not sure if we're going to get there, because we have been hearing about this Project Arrow for some time, and there's not a lot of there's no manufacturing facility for sure that's up and running at this point. At this point, it's just a concept, and they're trying to drum up support for it.
Yeah, absolutely. The design and development of any vehicle takes many years to pull from concept to reality. To go through and prove out all of the components and pieces and validate it. It's an extremely large and complex coordinated effort to do that. The expertise does exist in Canada to do that. I'm sure the expertise is there, and definitely from a parts manufacturing standpoint. I mean, we have a huge supplier base here in Canada, one of the largest in the world in automotive parts supply. So that part of the aspect is certainly there. But getting the overarching organization of all these groups to coordinate together and to design and actually bring this to market is going to be certainly a monumental task. I would love to see it. I'd love to see it happen, but there's a lot of other startups out there too right now trying something similar, and the failure rate is quite high. So I wish them well.
Yeah, it's going to be a monumental task if they are to do it. Certainly wish them well. Hope they can do something like it, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how the news goes. They said they're going to have another bit of an unveiling late 2022, December. So we'll see if they make progress on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next, Eric's got this story of this is an assembly line in Windsor, I believe.
Yeah, so this is a company called AutoMobility Enterprises, and they've launched a new, they call AutoMobility Hub. And the idea is to create a facility that does micro EV manufacturing. And this is supposed to be for sort of custom one-off projects. And we see this today already with some automation companies out there where you might have farm equipment or commercial vehicle equipment. And this will often be for custom applications for different environments. This company is looking to do that, but now to do it from an electrification standpoint. So this facility would be sort of a micro facility, and a customer could come to them and say, hey, this is my custom application. I want to electrify this application. And these guys could then turn around and design what they need to and actually implement and produce on a micro scale, converting an existing vehicle that may perhaps today runs off diesel or some other type of fossil fuel, or they can potentially come up with a new machine that is electrified for that specific application. One of the examples they show in the article actually is they talk about in California a machine that harvests almonds, for example, and looking for a way to electrify that. So there's certainly lots of custom farm equipment out there today, and lots of custom commercial equipment. One of the other projects they're looking at already too is through NWIN Utilities, which is the local utility company in the Windsor area, are also looking to convert a couple of their vehicles to electric, and that's one of their first customers as well. So I think it's just another step along the road for electrifying things.
So they're a bit of a think tank and designer to help people convert vehicles to electric, and then they have the facilities to set up the machinery to actually make that design come to life?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much.
All right.
Yeah, they're like a custom fabrication shop for for electrification.
And when you say micro, obviously the almond machine kind of brings that to light. You wouldn't need, hundreds of thousands of almond machines that would be ordered. But when they say micro, are we looking at, dozens? Are we looking at hundreds? When they, the automotive industry is, millions of units. So what's really micro?
Yeah, this is definitely a small scale. I mean, their first contract with Enwin Utility is only a couple of vehicles, but I think they're looking at their scale is in the 5,000 to 10,000 units per year, I think.
Okay.
Of whatever they need, 5,000, 10,000 projects a year, basically.
Right.
For units of multiple projects, probably.
Very good. Okay. And going off script a little, we got a little extra time. I just wanted to bring up, and it kind of dovetails into your last story about the micro group there. There was a report just over the week that the group that owns the rights to the DeLorean has decided that they are going to make it into an EV. So apparently there's a Texas company that bought the rights of DeLorean when DeLorean went defunct. They picked up all the parts, the schematics, the design, everything about the DeLorean car of the 80s that, of course, was made famous from the Back to the Future movies. And they have been, at this point, designing a few of those cars to resell because they got all these parts. They got a huge warehouse full of DeLorean parts, doors, wheels, chassis, motors. So they're able to actually produce a number of these cars, and they've been selling them to private collectors. They've been ongoing for a while now, but they've just made an announcement that they want to convert the DeLorean to be an electric vehicle. And this Texas company is paired up with a Chinese company. Their plan is to bring production to Texas and to start producing this all EV. Not sure if it's going to be exactly the same because you remember the DeLorean was a stainless steel exterior vehicle. That's going to be some weight to an EV, but it's something that that exoskeleton might have been good for them. I'm not sure if they're going to make it. I couldn't imagine them changing it too much from what it currently looks like, the iconic look of the DeLorean. But and this is going to be a kind of micro project too, of course, depending on the number of orders they get. But they made a big splash during last week's Super Bowl, where they had a announcement about this. Yeah, that's. I'd like to see some electric DeLoreans on the road. It's certainly. I'm not sure if that would be a vehicle of my choice because of the gull-wing doors and the small windows on them. And it's certainly an 80s looking car. It's got that retro look because, of course, they stopped making them in the 80s. That was the design at the time. But this is another example of a small group converting cars to electric. And I see more of this happening all the time. And it's great to see this type of innovation changing vehicles from ICE to electric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting to see a number of companies now. I was looking at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and there was a number of companies there that had quite a few companies now that actually have sort of off-the-shelf EV conversion kits. They come and they'll sell you a motor, inverter, and a basic powertrain chassis setup, basically. And it's almost plug and play to some extent. You might have to retrofit it for your specific application. Some of them even sell with frames, actually, where you can retrofit your vehicle on top of this frame that's already built there as well, too. So we're starting to see a lot more aftermarket possibilities. And of course, DeLoreans have quite the fanfare and nostalgia with a lot of people, and a lot of fame through a lot of different things as a vehicle that at one point represented the future that just unfortunately didn't stick. So, but yeah, it'd be certainly interesting to see again an electric DeLorean, and even going back and looking at some of the new cars that are coming out. I was watching a lot of videos today on the Volkswagen Buzz, which is the new version of the old microbus that Volkswagen had many years ago. And I think now with vehicle electrification coming out, it's going to open up the possibility of car manufacturers going back and bringing back a lot of these older designs that maybe in a gas configuration just doesn't work anymore. But in an EV, they might actually be able to make it work now.
Yeah, and as mentioned, that micro type build can start to be possibly profitable, even because those kits that you're talking about, you can buy the kits in volume and then just basically slap different bodies on it, make minor configuration changes based on what the body is. And you've got the same performance out of most vehicles, again, based on weight and size. But it's something that will allow people to make an old car new again with a completely electric drivetrain.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to take an old square body GMC 1990s pickup truck and convert it to electric. I think that would be that'd be awesome.
Well, hopefully we'll see others with those crate type motor, that was available through all of the big three. You could buy a crate motor from any of them and build an ICE vehicle. So hopefully they all start coming out with crate motors that are electric, including, as you mentioned, frames, batteries, inverters, and such, to allow people to build the car of their dreams and make it future friendly, eliminating the fuel part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Very good. Well, we thank you all for watching February's EV news. If you have any suggestions, if you have stories that you would like to see, please feel free to leave comments below or send us an email. Be happy to do that, or through our Twitter feed. You can reach us that way as well. And we will get together next month and put on another bit of EV news that we come up with for the month of March. And we should be even warmer by then. So that'll be another thing to look forward to in another month or so. So any parting words for us, Eric? You got anything going on that you wanted to let people know about?
No, not much right now. So it just yep.
Just getting through the winter like the rest of us.
Getting through the winter, yeah.
Yeah, unless you're Ian and you're sitting in Mexico right now with a drink in your hands, but we all can't do that. Someone's got to keep here and keep the lights on. So we will
Nuestro cerveza, por favor.
We certainly look forward to getting together next month, and hopefully Ian will be with us then. And until then, thanks again, everyone, for watching. Give us a thumbs up, press that subscribe, and we will see you next month. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.